채널 젊은 달.
Hung off a plane. And
He hung off
I mean,
a
it's
plane and he's running down buildings. Like, it's absolutely
Well, so
incredible.
that one, so I kind of cornered him and I said, hey, tell me about this. Like, I'm afraid of heights. How did you do this thing? And he goes, I've been dreaming of this shot for 15 years, of this sequence, and finally I had a chance to do it. And I goes, well, so how did it come to pass? And he goes, okay, the safety guy says, you can't do that. He goes, that's too dangerous. And I'm like, And he goes, so I get another safety guy.
슈퍼스타 톰 크루즈. 전 세계의 팬들은 오늘도 그가 제발 자연사하기를 바라는데요. 62년생인 그는 올해 만 나이로 59세입니다. 1981년에 데뷔를 해 출중한 외모와 연기력으로 40년 동안 쉴 틈 없이 대중들로부터 사랑을 받아온 살아있는 전설이라 말할 수 있는데요. 이렇게 역사의 길이 남을 꽃미남 실력파 배우이지만 그의 커리어는 1996년작 브라이언 팔마 감독님의 미션 임파서블을 기준으로 새로운 국면을 맞이합니다.
Even as a little kid, I did stunts. I just loved climbing the tallest trees on windy days, and I was that kid that would jump off the roof. For me, it's about storytelling, and I grew up watching Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, Abbott Costello. You know, they're kind of work that they did, the classics, and they made me laugh. And they had tension. So these things that I want to really build stories around it. That's why I started producing Mission Impossible.
그렇게 톰 형은 뛰고 또 뛰고 매달리고 또 뛰고 숨 참고 올라가고 그리고 이건 와. 야, 이건 와. 이야. 이런 말도 안 되는 스턴트를 대우주 슈퍼스타인 본인이 직접 찍기 위해서 톰 형은 프로젝트의 프로듀서직을 맡고 있기도 하고요. 역시나 영화의 스타가 위험을 감수하는 만큼 상당한 보험료가 든다고 하는데요. 비교적 최근 촬영한 미션 임파서블 7의 보험료가 한화로 1157억 원이었다고 합니다. 미션 임파서블 시리즈 1편부터 6편까지 톰 형의 스턴트가 어떤 식으로 진화해 왔는지 인터뷰 영상과 함께 보시는 시간을 가져보도록 하겠습니다. 지금 바로 보시죠. 블로우아웃, 캐리 등으로 유명하신 브라이언 팔마 감독님의 첫 보물 영화 시리즈를 런칭하게 된 작품이죠. 1996년작 미션 임파서블입니다.
Right above him, there's tons of water that's going to come cascading down from above him and behind him. Enough to literally, wash you into next week.
And what happened is that they blew the tank out behind me first. So you hear 1, 2, and on 2, the tank behind me blew out, and then 3. So it took everything in my power to stay there for 3. I was nervous. Guy came up to me, he said, look, I'm gonna count to 3. He said, don't go on 3.5. He said, I'll be watching you, but I'm going to count to 3, and on 3, that's when I'm going to do it, okay? And I said, hold it. 1, 2, 3, go, or 1, 2, go.
Everything on that film, I think that was the hardest he worked on the film, was just doing that, because, coming down all that way upside down, hanging there through the whole shot upside down and doing the turnover. And he worked so hard keeping the balance.
That was very difficult, actually, because you're hanging upside down for a long period of time. I don't know if you've ever done that, it can make people nauseous. But the most difficult part of that is there was a point where I dropped down.
And it was all done by hand and weights. He just had 2 guys on there that, feeding him up and feeding him down.
And I remember we were running out of time, and I went down to the floor and I kept hitting my face, hitting my face, and the take didn't work. And we were running out of time. We had a lot we had to do. So I went up to the stunt guys and I said, give me, coins. Here in England they have pound coins. So I put pound coins in and I hung on the cables to see was I level. Brian was like, 1 more and I'm going to cut into it and do it. And I said, I can do it. you know. So I went down, started the computer, went down on the floor, and I didn't touch. And I remember I was there, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't touch. And I was holding it, and I'm sweating, and then he just keeps rolling. And I just realized Brian is like, he's doing it. Kid. He is working it. It's like, we did it. I'm like, I am not going to stop. And I just hear him off camera, and he's got a very distinct laugh, and a very, you know, when he laughs, it makes me laugh. And I could just hear him start to howl, and he goes, all right.
쌍권총, 이쑤시개, 슬로우 모션 액션이 트레이드마크이던 오우상 감독님과 물이 오를 대로 오른 톰 크루즈가 만난 작품으로 브라이언 드 팔마 감독님의 액션이 가미된 스파이 첫 보물이었던 전작과는 달리 이 후속작은 첫 보물을 가장한 간지가 몸을 지배하는 액션으로 도배된 작품 되겠습니다.
It's fun.
그 중에서도 오프닝 시퀀스에 해당되는 이 암벽 등장은 여러모로 유명합니다. 무엇으로 유명하냐고요? 줄 하나 메고 대역 없이 톰 형이 직접 암벽을 탄 것으로 유명합니다. 실제로 어깨 쪽 근육이 찢어졌었다고는 합니다만 네.
John, he was so nervous that I might plummet to my death, and then he would be held responsible for that. And I don't blame him.
I kept sweating and so much worry. I was so scared.
Tom actually did the climb himself. The rope is just a safety if he were to fall, which he didn't.
And I've never had a problem with heights. As a kid, anytime I get to the edge, I want to jump off. I don't know what it is. It's subconscious. I don't want to kill myself. I want to fly.
비하인드 씬에서는 안 나왔지만 암벽 등반만큼 유명한 스턴트 장면은 이 나이프 스턴트 되겠는데요. 이 마지막 몸싸움에서 보이는 클로즈업은 매 테이크마다 눈에 아슬아슬하게 가져가야 했기 때문에 매우 위험했다고 합니다.
It's fun. That's why you want to make these movies. You know, you get to roll around and get to do these wild things.
미션 임파서블 3는 지금 저희가 아는 J.J. 아브람스 감독님의 상업 장편 연출 데뷔작인데요. 당시 J.J. 감독님이 연출 및 제작을 맡고 있던 텔레비 시리즈 알리아스를 재밌게 본 톰 형이 그에게 연락해 연출 제의를 하게 됩니다.
The next night I went to Paula Wagner's house to meet her and Tom, and I walk in and Tom's there and he just gives me that huge smile and he's like, "Do you want to do it?" Like, are you kidding me? It's like the greatest opportunity in the world.
그렇게 찍게 된 이 영화에는 기존 두 편처럼 엄청 위험한 와이어 액션, 엄청 큰 폭발, 엄청 높은 곳에서 뛰는 등 다 들어가 있는데요.
For the first take, I was standing up the hill by one of the cameras, and it seemed forever. The truck was just driving straight at him. It just looked awe-inspiring from where I was. Again, another grey hair.
I would much rather actually be Tom in the road than the guy driving the truck. Because can you imagine being the guy driving the truck over Tom Cruise?
하지만 그 중에서도 제일 인상적인 스턴트, 바로 다리 위 장면 되겠습니다.
Once I had, had the sequence finished and written and pre-visualized, we could get away with a lot of cheats in terms of not seeing the water. So we looked around and found this location in Calabasas, and they let us build this strip of road, part of the superstructure of this bridge, and let us shoot there. And Scott Chambliss, our production designer, basically created the set for us to do the entire sequence.
The one stunt I think that impressed me as much as anything on the bridge was when he's running away from a rocket hit on one of the vehicles. The force of the explosion lifts Tom up and throws him into one of the parked vehicles that's been abandoned.
So I know that I have to run at a full speed, and I just have to get out of my mind that anything's going to happen, at which point they pull the trigger and I get slammed in the car.
And he really hit it. And he went in there horizontally. And as I said at the time, if any stuntman on the bridge there had that shot on their resume, they'd be very, very proud of it as a stunt. It was a hit.
Oh yeah, because you feel that concussion will blow. Oh my God. That is so good.
That's a great day's work, man.
애니메이션 아이언 자이언트, 인크레더블, 라따뚜이로 유명한 브래드 버드 감독님의 첫 실사 영화 2011년작 미션 임파서블 고스트 프로토콜입니다. 참고로 영화 인크레더블스의 이 캐릭터의 목소리의 주인공도 감독님입니다.
If you repress, you depress, darling. To impress, you must express.
이건 뭐 너무나도 유명한 얘기죠. 세상 제일 높은 빌딩을 줄 하나 메고 올라갔다는. 더 설명하기 전에 앞서 사진 하나 보고 가시죠. 네. 굉장히 해맑으시네요.
Just the idea of going to Dubai and shooting on the building was something that we thought we'd have to recreate the building and do it a more traditional way. And it was Tom who said, no, I'm going to go out there. We'll find a way to be able to make it happen. And he really led the charge.
We would have to drill into the ground, we'd have to drill into the ceilings, and we had to get permission for every hole that we drilled. And we had to start taking windows out. And these are windows that had never been taken out and aren't meant to come out. At first, there was a big resistance about taking them out, and we said, look, if windows can go in, they can come out. If we can't do that, then we can't do the sequence. So there were conversations that took place about that, and everyone found a way to do it.
Even before getting to Dubai, I had them build the glass wall for me. And we'd throw hot lights on it to bring the glass and the metal up to the temperature that it would be. And it was also physically getting training in the harness. And I would do speed climbs where for 30 minutes I would just climb up and down, so that I was ready when the camera was ready and that no one would be waiting for me.
So if you put your right arm when you're looking, yep, and then as soon as you pull that left one, I drop you.
Climbing the bridge, it's not just a stunt, it's a character and you've got to perform.
Here we go. Greg, you want to call it? Quiet, please.
There's a lot of things to think about.
3, 2, 1.
I'm fortunate that I get to do exactly what my dream was, is to make movies.
Trip.
And I get the opportunity to climb the tallest building in the world.
We've done the number of stunts a normal action movie has already, and we're only about 40% done with our movie. 4 a.m, suddenly my eyes just snapped open and I realized the star of our movie is like swinging around on the outside of the tallest building in the world, held on by like a tiny wire. And I just kind of went, "Ugh!"
You want me to jump further and longer so that it can pan around?
The only thing is it looked like your feet were skittering a little bit right before the jump.
Okay, Greg, did you copy that? Copy that. Yeah, I just got to get a couple of more, little Bambi leaps in there beforehand.
Greg, they said they're having
a little more Bambi, a little more, Peter Pan.
I had to figure out how do I fly off that building, and you have to figure it out very quickly because you can't stay up in that building in the gear that I was wearing for very long because you're being cut off in 2 main arteries across your harness and your legs are numb.
Okay, let's go to 1. So when you're set, Tom, we'll go. I'm set. All right, we're set.
I had to do it very quickly. I had to go, I just had to get it. You had to get it, you had to get it, you had to get it.
Action!
크리스토퍼 맥커리 감독님은 유주얼 서스펙트를 써낸 각본가 출신으로 영화 잭 리처를 연출하면서 톰형과 친해지고 나서는 해리포터의 데이비드 예이츠 감독님처럼 현재 미션 임파서블 시리즈의 공무원이 되어버렸는데요. 그 시리즈의 첫 번째 2015년작 미션 임파서블 로그 네이션입니다.
This takes underwater because it took from the time you get rid of the regulator, get rid of the bubbles, get on the side, and we wanted to do it in one shot. So they were very, very long shots. I'd have to hold it consistently, safely up to 4 minutes.
Basically, what I'm doing is taking Tom and Rebecca through a breath hold special operations program. It's a program that I've designed for militaries. And what we're really trying to do is we're developing their ability to hold their breath under extreme conditions.
You have to overtrain for a sequence. We were doing up to 6.5-minute breath holds.
We started breath hold.
Tom's very comfortable underwater and he likes to challenge the crew by staying under longer than he should on a breath hold and get us all worried.
Let's not freak people out too much. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3.
이 영화의 스턴트는 이게 끝이 아닙니다.
I couldn't sleep the night before, and then came the day.
I was like, okay, this is really gonna happen. You ready? Let's go.
I kind of thought that was a one take, but he did it 8 times.
If something went wrong, I can't get into the airplane until we land.
Okay, guys, please take your seats.
There's no little crash and a scratch. You're dead.
Ready, and action!
I'm feeling the force of the wind hit me. I'm actually scared of this.
여러분, 톰 형은 이걸 8번 찍었습니다. 이때 나이 52 되겠습니다. 2018년작 미션 임파서블 폴아웃, 연출은 또다시 크리스토퍼 맥커리 감독님이 맡았고요. 시리즈의 6번째 작품임에도 불구하고 이번 작품에서도 여전히 정말 멋지고 놀라운 스턴트들이 넘쳐납니다.
In Mission Impossible, you're always talking about what is the stunt.
With this one, Tom's really sort of doubled down. It's not just one stunt.
I didn't think you could have beaten the last stunts, but he did.
I pitched Tom the helicopter long line drop, and Tom loved it.
Well, obviously you could do that on a green screen, but of course, Mission Impossible fashion, we flew and dropped Tom Cruise off of it.
I remember it was freezing. My hands were numb. I have to try to climb as fast as I can up that rope, and then it's a free fall to the back.
Rebecca and I could see Tom dangling from this helicopter. Tom fell.
I actually thought he fell, and I heard myself scream.
And then he lets go and he falls down the line and hits the net and grabs on.
Okay.
And even though we've rigged it and rehearsed it and it's all done, it's even talking about it.
I know.
Yeah, I mean...
None of this has ever been attempted before.
Flying a helicopter takes a lot of skill. To put someone like Tom into a situation like this is almost impossible to imagine.
He came to me and he said, we're going to go to Airbus and we're going to learn how to fly a helicopter and be a 2,000-hour pilot in a very short period of time.
It takes something like 3 months of 8-hour days just to become a novice helicopter pilot. Tom needed to work round the clock to reach the level of skill this sequence needs.
There are very few students that have his level of dedication and focus.
Fly safely. Thank you. While most aerial chases you'll see from a helicopter, we don't usually turn the cameras in. So we've developed these rigs over the last couple of months where we can basically hard mount cameras to show that Ethan Hunt is flying the helicopter without anybody else.
Every camera position has been designed so that you can see that Tom is doing everything himself.
It's super important for a movie like Mission to be doing it all practically and for real. Tom doesn't want to sit in a green screen. The audiences can tell when something's been cheated.
First time we're doing it, gonna work our way in. Make safe, Tom. Make it safe. All right, come on in, guys.
For safety, all the pilots get together in the morning and they discuss very clearly where they're going to be and what their positions are for every shot.
I'm gonna look down and I'll take it over the waterfalls. I enter it right away. Let's go.
Back up, friends. Head to your helicopter.
The most dangerous part of the aerial sequence is really that there's more than one helicopter in the air.
We have 13 helicopters in the production. The ones on camera doing aerobatics just a few feet from each other. It's pretty wild.
I have you in sight.
Throughout the entire sequence, they all have to maintain visual contact. And then there's Tom. He's the pilot, he's acting, and he's the camera operator.
We're rolling and ready when you are, Tom. Copy that.
The scariest part was the 360 downward spiral.
Okay, so let's climb up and I'll guide down.
Most pilots wouldn't attempt this.
The corkscrew turn is very challenging for a pilot.
I'm gonna brake to the left.
It takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice.
We're good, we're rolling.
You make a mistake, somebody's going to die from it.
I'm gonna go.
And each spiral looks like he's going to crash.
God. Pitch.
Whoa, that's what I want.
How was that, McHugh?
Very upsetting here.
Well, I guess that's a sprint.
Absolutely.
Motorcycle chase in Paris was nerve-wracking. Being that Tom was riding a motorbike without a helmet.
I had a safety rig for this one challenging shot, and that rig just didn't work.
And we looked at Tom and said, what are we gonna do? And he said,
My friend, we gotta roll. We gotta go. We gotta shoot.
So he got on his bike and took off. That's Tom riding a motorcycle against traffic around the Arc de Triomphe. The rooftop chase. He's leaping from one building to another, hitting the wall with his body and has to grab on.
You know, it's one of those things. I'm supposed to have that level of impact hitting the wall. I just put my foot out, tried to soften the impact. I knew instantly it was broken.
Here we go.
Look at...
And now watch that. Watch this. So you're down. Now anyone else will go, well, that's over. No. Up he gets. Up he gets. And he's running.
The halo sequence is something McHugh and I talked about for a long time, and we were told on numerous occasions that it's impossible what we were thinking, and it's never going to happen, and we were like, okay. So basically what McHugh did is he designed the sequence, and also the sequence takes place at night as the sun has set. So essentially we realized we have a 3-minute window upon which I jump out of the air, we do the scene inside the aircraft and jump out, and then I have to fly down and be within 3 feet of the lens, because he's pulling focus, which is something that's never been done before in the air, because he's using a film camera, he's having to pull focus while he's also skydiving, and I'm skydiving down to him, and I have to be within 3 feet of him. 3 feet, not 2.5, not 3.5, it has to be 3 feet because of the depth of field, because of the light and the lens that we were using. So then we had to figure out how do we get the shot, and we didn't know whether we would actually be able to do it until we were there on the ground in Abu Dhabi and trained in it, and figured out how to exit out of the aircraft, because the aircraft's going between, the C-17s between 160 and 200 miles an hour. So with that level of turbulence, we had to find a way to exit the aircraft, even for me to be able to get close to that 3 feet. We broke it down to 3 sections, and then we only got 1 take a day. So I spent the whole day training, and then at night we would get that 1 take. And it was 1 take. And if there was 1 mistake, that was it. The take was gone. And we couldn't, we had to do it again.
We gotta talk. Need to rethink this. Out of my way, Hunt. Walker, we got a problem. There's a storm and we need... Enough talk. I'll see you in Paris. Come on.
Altitude, 25,000 feet.
There are many factors, and obviously we talk them through very carefully. When I go to do something like this, I'm not someone who does it on a whim. I'm very meticulous on how I prepare physically, mentally, with everyone, the whole team, and there's tons of briefings. I really create a team environment, and one that I push for excellence. But obviously what we're doing is extreme, and all of us know it, and all of us are very respectful of that, and don't take it for granted. It's definitely challenged all of us. I mean, these skydivers that I was diving with also, they all had thousands and thousands of jumps. I didn't. Every jump, I was looking to how do I improve my skill, what do I do, how can I do it better.
Oh, that's all?
You know what? I think it was excellent. I think it was excellent. We'll take a look at the footage, that's what it always comes down to. But I have to say, I think it went exceedingly well.
Timing of this is perfect.
Good speed in there, boom, it happens.
Yeah. Money. Well done, guys. Really amazing.
Very proud to say. I think that is the greatest feeling, and why I think I'm addicted to movies. It is something where you're working with enormously talented people in every department that want to entertain that audience. They all love movies, and they're using all of their skills to try to create something for an audience, make something that they can feel proud of, and when that moment happens, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling, and one that you don't ever forget, really.